Alhamdulillah, all praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's gathered us here today on this blessed night, in which we remember the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the moments of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the days of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the nights of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the journey of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the clothing of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the rank of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We're extremely fortunate as an ummah that we have the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and so we celebrate him in every moment, and we rejoice in our hearts and mark every moment of his life sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's the sign of the true believer, that in every moment he rejoices the greatest gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us, and without a shadow of a doubt, more beloved to us than our parents, more beloved to us than our houses and our wealth, more beloved to us than our own life, as was shown by the Sahaba. And the blessing of our own life is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because as a true believer, we believe that if in our life we have the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we are truly alive. And if we don't have him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we're apparently alive, but in reality we're dead. And so every blessing returns back to the origin of blessings, and that's the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those who have taken to that blessing and clung to that blessing have realized it, and they are called the awliya. And those who have been wretched enough to have been bereft of this blessing, they have been known in every day and age, and they are called the enemies of the prophets and the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we have these two groups. We have those in every age who either were looking forward to the prophets, or supporting the prophets, or looking forward to the coming of a prophet, or remembering the events that took place in the life of a prophet. Or you had those who showed enmity towards them, and who went against them, and who forgot them. And likewise, we are in one of those periods. We are in that period of time when the final messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been sent. The door of prophecy has been closed. Now the only option that we have is to remember him and to maintain his remembrance. And a human characteristic and a human quality is that we remember significant days. It's part of our nature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions significant days in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the year of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he talks about Amul Fil. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the days of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Quran. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam marks his birthday with fasting. He marks the freedom of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and his people from Pharaoh with a fast in Muharram. So the significant days as human nature and prophetic nature is to mark them and remember them. And from one of the traditions of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that on such a night, on the 27th of Rajab, on the night of the Isra wal-Miraj of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we gather and we remember the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the events that took place. When we're talking about this event, it is extremely significant. It's mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari, it's mentioned by over 20 of the Sahaba al-Kiram. If we look at the two phases of the life of the Prophet ﷺ, the Meccan and the Medinan phase of the life of the Prophet ﷺ, then just focusing on the Meccan phase of the life of the Prophet ﷺ, the narrations about the Isra wal-Miraj outnumber all of the other narrations of the Meccan period put together. So we're not talking about any old event. Those people of love and the people of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah understand that there is no insignificant event in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Was any moment insignificant? And the Prophet ﷺ, every breath of his, every glance of his, his glance is such that it transforms people of kufr into the echelons of Jannah. That's his glance. There is no insignificant breath. There is no insignificance in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Everything is immense. This is why what is the definition of a hadith? Definition of a hadith is the sayings and the actions and the silence of the Prophet ﷺ. Even his silence is significant. It becomes hadith. If a Sahabi does something and the Prophet ﷺ is present and he stays silent, that becomes an affirmation, it becomes a hadith. It becomes sharia. Even his silence is sharia sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is who we're talking about. And so the moment of the Isra wal-Miraj takes place at the end of the Meccan period of the prophetic life of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ, he spent 53 years in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Yeah? 40 of those years as an undeclared prophet. He was a prophet, no shadow of a doubt. Yeah, he was a prophet even before he came onto earth. كُنْتُ نَبِيًّا وَالْآدَمُ بَيْنَ الْمَاءِ وَالطِّينِ. Yeah, that was a prophet even before Sayyidina Adam ﷺ was created. And so the Prophet ﷺ's apparent declaration and his open declaration of prophecy starts at the year 40. And so after the declaration of prophecy, the Prophet ﷺ for 13 years he stays in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Now we know the Meccan phase of the Prophet ﷺ is filled with difficulty and hardship. And this is the first point. Whenever we talk about the prophets and the awliya and salihin and whatever we talk, I always like to link it to practical lessons we can take. It's not just about marveling at their life. They lived those moments, they made those sacrifices so that we can take a lesson and we can apply it in our life. Yet they're not just stories. This isn't just a story that we read and then we go to sleep and that's the end of it. No, these are lessons for life that we take and we live by. We need to live the Prophet ﷺ. That's what we need to do. And so, when we look at the Meccan phase of the Prophet ﷺ, difficulty and strife. Any kind of difficulty that you can imagine, the Prophet ﷺ went through it, the Prophet ﷺ witnessed it. And that's step number one, lesson number one. When we reflect on this day and age, the Prophet ﷺ and his community were a minority. The community of the Prophet ﷺ didn't have power and influence. The community of the Prophet ﷺ didn't have much wealth compared to the kuffar. The community of the Prophet ﷺ, ill was said about them. They were belittled, they were disrespected, they were lied about. Does it sound similar? Can we kind of relate to that? And so what we learn from this period of life, and especially when we come to the Isra Wal-Miraj, is that it's all about patience when you're in that state. It's all about not giving up and not letting go of the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter what hardship comes to you, never ever let go of Islam. To the extent that the Sahaba, some of them, they were put in cauldrons of boiling oil. We're talking about Sahaba. We're talking about people in their time who their flesh was ripped apart from their bones. All for what? La ilaha illallah. Never gave up. They said that our life is cheap. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah is priceless. We'll give everything for La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And so, the first lesson that we learn here is one of clinging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in every moment. Do not give up on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Otherwise that is true defeat. Apparent defeat is nothing. It happens. The true defeat is when you let go of Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's why Shaykh ibn Ata al-Iskandari in his Al-Hikam, he says, "Oh Allah, if I have found you, what have I lost? And if I lose you, what have I found?" That is the principle by which every single Muslim lives by. That's what we live by. And that's the only thing that we have left. That's the hope that we have in every time. And so the Prophet ﷺ, leading up to the Isra Wal-Miraj, and this is near the end of the Meccan life of the Prophet ﷺ, he goes through three significant difficulties and hardships. Difficulty after difficulty in the Meccan phase anyway. The Prophet ﷺ has to live on the outskirts of Makkah al-Mukarramah. The Sahaba have to live off leaves. Sahaba are killed. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu, rocks put upon his chest in the Arabian desert. Whatever you can imagine, it was done to them. Men, women as well. Not just the men, even the women. The first martyr in Islam was a woman. The first martyr in Islam was a woman. Children were chained by their parents just for becoming Muslim. Literally. Sayyidina Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu, from a rich family, his mother chained him in the house, said, "You either leave La ilaha illallah or I'm going to keep you chained in the house, you're not going anywhere." What's his crime? La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. His crime, he fell in love with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so, the three significant events that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes through in this year, he calls Aam al-Huzn, the year of sorrow. Now imagine when the Prophet ﷺ calls it the year of sorrow, there's not much that shakes the Prophet ﷺ. He's seen much before. Lost his father before birth, lost his mother at the age of 5 and 6, buried her with his own hands ﷺ. He loses his grandfather ﷺ. He loses many. immense loss at the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. But what happens? Three things happen. He loses Sayyidina Khadija radiallahu anha. And he loses his uncle Abu Talib. Two major losses in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ had immense love for these people. And these two people especially gave immense support to the Prophet ﷺ. They supported the Prophet ﷺ greatly. And just on this point, it shows one of the beauties of Islam is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes the khidmah of this deen, He takes the service of this deen from men, from women, from children, from the elderly, from black, from white, from Arabs, non-Arabs. It's all about, do you want to serve? Women should not think we are insignificant, what can we do? We can't do anything, we're not allowed to be imams, we can't give the adhan. No, you have an immense role. Look at Sayyidina Maryam alayhi salam. Look at Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu anha. Look at Sayyidina Khadija radiallahu anha. And this is why the scholars say that with great men, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always sent great women as well. You know this misunderstanding that women don't have a role in Islam. Yeah, read history. Look at Islam from the beginning. With Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, Sayyidatuna Hawa alayhi salam. With Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, the two mothers of two great prophets, two great nations. Sayyidatuna Hajar alayhi salam, Sayyidatuna Sara alayhi salam. Yeah? With Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Maryam alayhi salam. And with Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you have a whole generation. The list goes on and on. Sayyidina Khadija radiallahu anha, Sayyidina Halima radiallahu anha, Sayyidatuna Fatima radiallahu anha. This goes on and on and on and on. So if you want to serve the deen, Allah will not deny you. You may be disabled, you may be blind. Imam al-Haddad rahmatullahi alayhi, Mujaddid al-Yaman, blind. Yeah? Imam al-Bukhari, blind at a young age, by the dua of his mother, he regains his sight. Yeah? So do not think any quality that you have is a limiting factor in serving this religion. The only limitation in you serving this religion is you. If you have the drive, you have the motivation, you have the sincerity, you are willing to make the sacrifice, you're willing to take the pain, Allah will use you. And if He uses you, then you're the greatest person walking on this earth. Nobody greater than you. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only uses the best. He only chooses the best and He only uses them. And that's what we aim for. We want to be chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we need to fulfill that criteria of being chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, when you apply for a job, you have a CV. For every job you apply for, you need to have certain criteria. If you want to be a mathematician, a mere degree in geography is not sufficient. You need to fulfill the criteria. If you want to be with Allah and be amongst the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you need to be a person of iman, a person of sacrifice, a person of ikhlas, and a person of love of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the other incident that takes place is Ta'if. What happens at Ta'if? The Prophet ﷺ goes to the people of Ta'if and he calls them towards Islam. When he goes there, he is rejected by the people, verbally, physically. They send the worst of people from the streets, children, to chase after the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ leaves bleeding. Blood, his sandals are filled with blood, is mentioned. And this story of Ta'if is amazing. You could speak about it your whole life. But Ta'if, what happens at Ta'if is that the angel comes, we've heard the narration, but we never tire of remembering it. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, with Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, superpowers, that Allah has commanded us that if you wish, we will crush these people between two mountains. Your choice. You just say the words, you don't even need to press a button. You just speak, and it is done. That's the power of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But also with the power, look at the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at the control of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, no, but in fact I wish and I pray that Allah brings forth from these people who will worship Him Azza wa Jalla. It's not about me. Look at this, there's no I in the Prophet ﷺ. They've harmed me. I don't want their harm to me to be a barrier between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. Look at the selflessness of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at that. Phenomenal. And so what happens is the people of Ta'if, till today Muslims. Not only are they Muslims, Ta'if in the whole of the Hijaz and the whole of that area is known for its rose oil. It's known for flowers. It's known for perfume. By the barakah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's the barakah of the Prophet ﷺ. And so after all this difficulty, and before the Prophet ﷺ's migration to Medina al-Munawwara, and he calls it Aam al-Huzn, the most sorrowful time of his life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards him with the highest stations of elevation, and excellency, and ecstasy. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give to the Prophet ﷺ? A personal invitation. 70,000 angels, with Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam at the head of them. They come to the Prophet ﷺ, and between two narrations, one, he's in the house of the sister of Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhul kareem, Sayyidatuna Hani radiyallahu anha. In the other narration, the Prophet ﷺ is in the Hadith, a semicircular wall. Yeah. And the way to join the two narrations is that he begins from the house and he goes to the Kaaba, prays 2 rak'ahs there, and he begins his journey, which is a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Whenever he went on a journey, he would go to the masjid, pray 2 rak'ahs, then leave. When he used to come back from a journey, he used to go to the masjid first, the house of Allah first before his own house. He used to pray 2 rak'ahs, then he would go to his house. There, Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam opens the chest of the Prophet. We had Shaqq al-Sadr in the childhood of the Prophet. This is another event of Shaqq al-Sadr. Also, just on this, there's so much to mention. Just on this point, Sayyidina Jibreel, and it's a da'if hadith, it's a weak hadith, but in terms of fada'il al-a'mal, and if it doesn't contradict anything from the Quran and the Sunnah, then it can be accepted. But Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam asks Allah, Ya Allah, how can I wake up the Prophet ﷺ? How should I wake him up? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, place your lips upon his feet. Place your lips upon his feet. And it's mentioned that the lips of Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam are made out of camphor, which is a very cooling element. It's a cooling element. But look at the adab, the manners, and the respect of Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam opens up the chest of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and places his heart in Zamzam. In another narration, he fills his heart with Iman. Yeah? That's the narrations. And so this is, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is seeing this, he's narrating it. He's actually seeing this happen. You take your heart out, if you're actually still alive, then you probably die by just watching what's happening. But most likely, if you don't have the apparatus and the machines pumping your blood still, you're not going to survive very long. It shows you the nature of the Prophet ﷺ is that, what we can conclude from this, is that on the apparent, he seems that he is a human being. He is a human being. We believe that from the nas of the Quran. But in his inner reality, he is definitely not a human being like you and I. Definitely not. And this was said in the Aqidah of the Sahaba is Muhammadun basharun la kal bashar, Muhammadun yaqutatun wal nasu min hajar. The person who thinks that a diamond and a ruby is the same as a stone obviously has issues. This was in Hassan bin Thabit says the Prophet ﷺ is a man unlike any other man, including the prophets and the messengers, including the Sahaba al-Kiram. He says the Prophet ﷺ is a ruby, and the rest of us are mere pebbles and stones. We're just mere pebbles and stones. In other words, on its outer reality, it's a stone, but its inner depth and its inner makeup, it's something else. It's of a different dimension. It's of a different quality. It's of a different beauty. Yeah. And so then they go on this journey. And on this journey, there are some stops. There are some stations. When the Prophet ﷺ goes from amongst the places that he stops is Medina al-Munawwara. Medina al-Munawwara. He stops there, he prays 2 rak'ahs. He asks Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, Ya Jibreel, what is this place? He says to the Prophet ﷺ, this is the place of your migration. You will migrate to this place. Yeah? And he's asking Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam so that the answer may become a narration, so that we would know. Prophet ﷺ already knew. His knowledge supersedes Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. That's not even a point of discussion. The other places that he visits is Madian, the place of Sayyidina Shu'ayb alayhi salam. He's visiting the cities of the prophets here. Yeah, places of barakah. Yeah. The next place that he visits is Bethlehem. Baytul Lahm. Bethlehem is what? The birthplace of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. And the birthplace of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prays 2 rak'ahs there. And he's giving us a rule by doing that. That the places that have been touched by prophets are places of barakah, are places of blessing. Not only places of birth and the mark of their life, but also the places of resting. The next place he stops at is the grave of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. When he goes to the grave of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, what does he see? He sees Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam qa'iman yusalli. He says he's standing in prayer. Now the scholars give 2 interpretations of this. Yusalli can mean praying salah. Yusalli can mean sending salams on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Standing in salah, or when he sees the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam in his grave, he stands up and gives salams to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Look at the people of love, how they interpret. Allahu Akbar. Whose is that the habit of? Who stands and gives salams to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Alhamdulillah. Fakhr of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That's our shi'ar. It's from the shi'ar of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Sharqan wa gharban. The Arab world and this world. And just very quickly, because we're talking about the Masjid Al-Aqsa, about standing and giving salams to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Very, very quickly. The great muhaddith of Makkah al-Mukarramah, Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki rahmatullah alayhi. He's called the Asad of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the lion of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Even till today, his school of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is run by his children. Had the sharaf of visiting him. Amazing man. Man of immense haiba. He's a Hassani Jilani Sayyid. He mentions about his grandfather. He says his grandfather was he was appointed as a patron of Masjid Al-Aqsa by the ruler of Jordan at that time. And he says he was sent there for a Mawlid gathering. Gathering of the Mawlid. He's not Pakistani or Indian or Bangladeshi or Sri Lankan. Arab. From Makkah al-Mukarramah. Sayyid. Doing Mawlid. He goes there. He says throughout the whole Mawlid, there's an old man standing throughout the whole Mawlid. Doesn't sit down. He says, I grab him by the hand. I tell him strictly, I say, sit down. He doesn't sit. He's much older than me, he says. Old man. He says, after the gathering, I asked him. He says, why did you not sit? He says, what happened to me was I used to be of those people who never used to attend the Mawlids. And I used to tell people not to stand in Mawlids. He says, one night I fell asleep. And he says, I was in a gathering in Masjid Al-Aqsa. Because we're talking about Masjid Al-Aqsa, I think somehow I'm just connecting it together. And he says, in this gathering, the Prophet ﷺ enters. And he says, everybody's remaining seated. They don't stand up. The Prophet ﷺ individually goes up to people. When he goes up to them, they stand up. He shakes their hand, and then they sit down. He says, when he comes to me, I go to stand. He tells me, don't stand up. He says, don't stand up. He says, when I woke up, I was paralyzed. Paralyzed. It's a true story. Narrated by probably one of the most authentic scholars you could have ever met. This is no joke. Paralyzed. He said, we sent for the doctors. From the east to the west, nobody could cure it. He said there was one of the salihin, what we would term in our culture as one of the awliya in our community. He says, we called him. He came, and he prayed over me, and I was cured. He says, from that day onwards, I've never missed a mawlid, and when I enter the mawlid, I never sit down, I always stay still. And so the Prophet ﷺ sees Sayyidina Musa ﷺ in this state. He proceeds to Masjid Al-Aqsa. Now when we get to Masjid Al-Aqsa, there's sometimes a misunderstanding. There's 2 significant buildings there. There's Masjid Al-Aqsa, which has a green dome. And there's Qubbatul Sakhra, the dome of the rock, which has the golden dome. Yeah? Now the Masjid Al-Aqsa is not the one with the golden dome. Masjid Al-Aqsa is where the Prophet ﷺ led the prophets in Salah. Qubbatul Sakhra is from where the Prophet ﷺ left this earth and went on the Mi'raj. Yeah? There's a rock there, there's a cave underneath, and that rock marks the departure point of the Prophet ﷺ to the heavens and to his Lord beyond the heavens. Here, when he gets here, there isn't an actual building or structure there. Nothing there. At that time, that land was in the possession of the Romans. They were Christians. And the leader of that time, he had deliberately prevented the Jews. If we're talking about people being against the Jews, this is in Christian history. We know from the Crusades as well how many Jews were killed at the hands the Jews sought sanctuary in Muslim Spain. That's the reality of the Muslim-Jewish relationship. The Muslims, they had great relationship with the Jews in history. But he had barred people from the Jews from building any kind of significant synagogue or place of worship there. And he had declared it a place of rubbish. But what happens is, for the Prophet ﷺ, the spiritual reality of Masjid Al-Aqsa becomes apparent. It's there. And the Prophet ﷺ ties his buraq, and just touching on this buraq is a riding beast from the heavens, smaller than a horse, larger than a donkey. Its speed is the utmost reach of its vision, what you call the speed of light. And what people say, the Prophet ﷺ rides on it bareback. He's not enclosed inside this. And what the scholars have said is, you can only travel at the speed of light if you yourself are light or lighter. You can't travel at the speed of light. If you and I were to travel at the speed of light, we would disintegrate, would break up. Even let's forget the speed of light. Even if these people were to go, you strap an astronaut on the outside of a rocket and send him to space. See what happens to him by the time he gets there. The Prophet ﷺ bareback on the buraq at the speed of light. What's his reality? Can we even fathom him? And so the Prophet ﷺ, when he gets there, all of the prophets are ready there, waiting for the Imam. Not the other way around. Not the other way around. People, when the Imam comes late, they complain. You should never complain. That's how it's meant to be. You're meant to be there before the Imam. He's meant to come after you. That's the sunnah of the messengers. They were waiting for the Prophet ﷺ, and they're there. The most elect of them, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, the list 124,000 or more, in another narration over 200,000 messengers of prophets are there. Who leads them all? Who's the honor of leading them all? Is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And just a point on this, that if anybody believes that there is a prophet or a messenger, he has to have been present then at that time. If he wasn't there, he cannot be a prophet now. You see how many points of Aqeedah are solved by this Isra wal-Miraj. Some that claim only 100 years ago that they were a prophet. Ask him, can you describe the salah that you prayed in Masjid Al-Aqsa, please? Because that's a test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts that as a test. That if you're truly a prophet, then one of the conditions is that you have to have prayed behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have to accept him.
Nare Takbir, Nare Risalat, Ya Rasulullah, Sayyidi Murshadi, Ya Nabi, Ya Nabi, Nare Haydari, Ya Nabi, Tajdare Khutbah Nabuwwat, Zindabad.
And so the Prophet ﷺ leads the prophets in salah. Look at this immense gathering. And look at what the prophets do when they gather. They remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our gatherings, whenever we gather with whomever you gather, always remember Allah. There should never be a gathering in which you do not remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you're gathering to eat, if you're gathering to watch something, you're gathering to do whatever, make sure you begin that gathering with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are spending time with people who do not remember Allah, they are not people worthy of spending time with. That's your test. If they remember Allah, they remind you of Allah, spend time with them. If they don't remember Allah, they don't remind you of Allah, they remind you of other than Allah, stay away from them. Simple. And so the Prophet ﷺ leads them in salah. He then goes slightly away from Masjid Al-Aqsa. And at this point, so just very quickly, what takes place is what the scholars mention is a gathering, a jalsa. All of the prophets, one by one, they stand and they mention the blessing that Allah has given them. They all give a khutbah, they all give a speech. After the salah. It's a gathering. Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam mentions how he is the first of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala human being created and sent to the earth. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam mentions how he was spoken to. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam speaks about how Allah befriended him. And the Prophet ﷺ speaks finally and mentions how he was sent as a mercy to the entire universe. That's his elect quality that he mentions. His mercy, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that's what we need to take in this day and age more than ever before, mercy and forgiveness. We need that in this day and age as a cure for many of the illnesses that we see. We need it in our life, we need it in our families. Be gentle with your families. Be gentle with your wives. Be gentle with your children. Seriously. Anything else will destroy your family. It will destroy your community. Do not respond with enmity with enmity. Do not respond to harshness with harshness, anger with anger. It's not the way of the sunnah. Don't just think the sunnah is in the beard. And then you get angry when somebody does something to you. Where's your sunnah then? That's the greatest sunnah. That's the sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned over all of his other sunnahs. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this narration. These two journeys, there's a horizontal journey, there's a vertical journey. The horizontal journey is mentioned in Surah Al-Isra. There's a whole surah mentioned after this journey. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. All glory be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who took his slave on a journey in the night. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts by the praise of himself to declare that if you have any doubt in this journey, then your doubt is in me, not in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am the one that made this happen. He didn't ask for it. He didn't choose it. I made it happen. I chose it. I brought him. He didn't even ask sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the maqam of adab of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Compare it with Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. He asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He comes to the mountain. He fasts for 40 days. He's told to take his shoes off. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if this mountain remains in its place, then you will see me. Sayyidina Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just manifests one of his sifat. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam falls unconscious. Here the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam doesn't ask, no conditions, with his clothes on, to the extent that Sayyidina Yusuf al-Nabhani, Shaykh Yusuf al-Nabhani, rahmatullah alayhi, he says the entire universe lives in the shade of the sandal of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, relating to Isra wal-Miraj, meaning that his sandal, never mind him, his sandal is greater than you and everything that exists. Greater. The Prophet ﷺ, no condition for fasting. In fact, he's given milk on the journey. He's given the option between wine and milk. The Prophet ﷺ chooses milk. The Prophet ﷺ goes on this journey, invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is, 70,000 angels, Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam to bring. You can't get more VIP than that. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, now, that's where his horizontal journey takes place. Now it's Mi'raj. Phenomenal. Now a person who denies the Isra is a kafir, and the person who denies the Mi'raj is a munafiq. He's a hypocrite. And the Isra and Mi'raj became a differentiating factor between those who truly believed and those who had hypocrisy within them. And one of the reasons why Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu gets his title is because he believed in the Isra wal Mi'raj. And just to clarify here, this was not a dream. This was not a dream. There's nothing miraculous about a dream. There's nothing to deny about a dream. If somebody says, I had a dream, and I did this and I did that, and I went here and I went there, and I went in a flash, whatever you describe, there's no, nobody's going to say you liar. That's not true. Prove it. It happens. Everybody, different people, see wondrous dreams. The Prophet ﷺ went in his entire reality ﷺ on this journey. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes him and he goes through the heavens. And in the different heavens, he meets different prophets. From amongst them, Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, to his right, there are some of his children, and to his left, there are some of his children. When he looks to his right, he smiles, because these are the children that will go to Jannah. When he looks to his left, he has a frown on his face. He's sad, because these are the children of hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ sees this. The scholars have said, when we talk about people of the right and the left, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Ashab al-Yameen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He's talking about Ashab al-Yameen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, salutations from the people of the right upon you, O Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَسَلَامٌ لَكَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْيَمِينَ. He's one of the descriptions, or one of the actions of the people of the right is that they send salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, salams on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It tells you your key to Jannah. It tells you how to get to the right of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. Salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Miftah al-Jannah. From amongst the prophets he meets Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. And from what we know about Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, immense beauty. Yeah. Beauty to the extent that the women of Egypt slit their fingers. Yeah. They cut their fingers, they didn't even realize. Yeah. That's how beautiful he was. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he's narrating this, he says, I met my brother Yusuf ﷺ. And he says, he's been given a portion of beauty. And I have been given beauty in its entirety. In other words, he is the definition of beauty. The Prophet ﷺ is the definition of beauty. Everything else beautiful is a mere glimpse, a mere fraction, a mere refraction, a mere reflection of the beauty of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Yeah, this is why the Sahaba, what makes them a Sahabi? The reflection. They look at the Prophet ﷺ, or the Prophet ﷺ looks at them. That reflection turns them into a Sahaba. That's it. They just reflect him for a moment. Could only be for a second even. That's it. Became a Sahaba. And so, the Prophet ﷺ, from amongst the prophets, he meets again, he meets Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he meets Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. We're going to see Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam again in the heavens, beyond the heavens. What does that tell you about the lives of the prophets? Do they have any limitations in this world, in this universe? Seen in the grave, seen at Masjid Al-Aqsa moments later. Yeah. I mean, he said, the Prophet ﷺ is traveling at the speed of light or greater. Sayyidina Musa ﷺ is there at Masjid Al-Aqsa before the Prophet ﷺ even arrives. He had to get there. He had to be quick. He gets there even before the Prophet ﷺ arrives. Maybe the Prophet ﷺ was stopping along the way just to give Sayyidina Musa ﷺ a chance to get there. Just to give him a head start. So Sayyidina Musa ﷺ is seen, Sayyidina Ibrahim ﷺ is seen. The Prophet ﷺ says that there was nobody that resembles him more than me. He's from the lineage, the Prophet ﷺ is through the lineage of Sayyidina Ibrahim ﷺ, through Sayyidina Ismail ﷺ. And so the Prophet ﷺ goes on. Sorry, Imam. So 3 minutes, inshallah. So the Prophet ﷺ go on the Miraj. The Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ goes through all of these stages. One of the things I want to mention is that the Prophet ﷺ sees Jannah and he sees fire. He sees the people of Jannah and he sees the people of fire. What we really make dua for and we really work towards is that we become people of the qualities of the people of Jannah and we stay away from the people of the qualities of the people of hellfire. What are they? Two of the people quickly will mention. One of them, Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu. He says to Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu, I heard your footsteps in Jannah. And what this indicates is either that Sayyidina Bilal is already there, or the Prophet ﷺ is seeing a reality before it's even taken place. And which tells us about the knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ is that his knowledge is greater than reality itself. He doesn't need to wait for it to happen to know about it. He knows about it before it's even happened. And he narrates about the past, he narrates about the present, he narrates about the future. And he asks Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu, how did you earn this? I mean, he knows he earned Jannah because of the Prophet ﷺ. But what made me hear your footsteps there? And he says, Ya Rasulullah, whenever I make wudu, I pray 2 rak'ahs of nafl afterwards. This is a bid'ah. The Prophet ﷺ didn't say to him, bid'ah. He didn't say, kullu bid'atin dhalala wa kullu dhalalatin fin nar. This is a bid'ah. You won't find in the Quran, you won't find up until that point in the ahadith, that when you make wudu, pray 2 nafls. Where did he get it from? Why did he do it? And if it was wrong and if it was an innovation, why didn't the Prophet ﷺ reprimand him? In fact, what he says is, I heard your footsteps in Jannah because of that action. It tells us there is such a thing as bid'atun hasana. Just like the Taraweeh, just like the gatherings of the Mawlid, just like this gathering now. Yeah? There is such a thing as a good innovation. But the Prophet ﷺ also sees somebody else, which for some people is a nightmare. He sees Sayyidina Umar radiallahu. Now if you want to get into Jannah, and you want to be in Jannah, you will never be sad. You will never see anything that will upset you. Now if seeing Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu upsets you, and it makes you sad, then unfortunately paradise is not for you. Sorry to disappoint you. You need to find somewhere else. Because one of the greatest individuals you're going to see in Jannah is Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Abu Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Ali karramallahu wajhul kareem. Sorry to disappoint some people. And glad tidings to those who long to be with Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. And so Sayyidina Umar, this is the reality now. Some people, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, they do not go to give salams to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Madinatul Munawwara. Mahrumeen. What greater sign of being mahroom? Why do they not go? Because he has two bodyguards. He has Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq on one side, he has Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu on the other. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will not accept those people who don't accept his companions. They don't go. Mahrumeen. Because if you don't accept them, you don't get the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam either. If you don't accept them, you don't get Jannah. If you don't accept them, you don't get the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In this world or in the hereafter. Look at that. They go all the way to Madinatul Munawwara and they don't have the tawfiq to stand before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's a protection. It's a guard. And so, on this journey, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he also sees some people, and just one of them will mention, some people, their heads are being smashed by rocks, reformed again, smashed again. And the Prophet ﷺ asks Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi, who are these people? And Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi replies, these were people who used to stay asleep during Fajr. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He does not make it with those people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rectifies our state. We wake up our Fajr and we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reality. He didn't mention that, he didn't see that without reason. He saw that and he mentioned it out of his mercy, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He doesn't want to see you and I there. He doesn't want to see you and I in that state. Let's make an effort. We need to change. That cannot be at all costs a quality of ours. You know, if you know that if you take a particular road, that the road will end at a particular point, and if you carry on, you're going to fall down that road. You're going to fall. You're going to die. You're going to have a car crash. Would anybody go down that path? Would anybody even think about going down that path or tell anyone? You'd warn everybody else. You'd make sure you don't go down that path. So if we know that having that quality of not waking up for Fajr will lead to that reality which the Prophet ﷺ saw, and everything he sees is reality, fact, truth, then we should not take that path. We should not go down that route. We should not have that quality. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he goes on this journey, the Prophet ﷺ comes to a place called Sidratul Muntaha, the furthest lote-tree. Sayyidina Jibreel ﷺ stops. He's with him all of the way. On earth, Mecca, Masjid Al-Aqsa, with the prophets, Qubbatul Sakhra, the heavens, all of the places he's with him. When he gets to Sidratul Muntaha, he stops. And the Prophet ﷺ asks him why. He says, if I enter into this realm by a hair's width, then I will be burnt asunder. I'll turn to ashes. Finished. Now what can burn light? What Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi made up? Out of light. And what can go into a realm and not be burnt? That realm which burns light, yet he is untouched. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Can we fathom his reality? He's something else, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He's greater than light, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. People talk about nur. We say the angels are made out of nur. Nur kisses the feet of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We don't know the reality of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And just another point of adab here as well, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this journey, when He says, Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the ubudiyyah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When the reference is the Prophet to Allah, He refers to him as abd. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in reference to us, He uses titles of respect and esteem. Never calls him abd. Calls him Siraj, calls him Nur, calls him Rasul, calls him Mustafa, calls him Mujtaba sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In relation to us, when He's talking about Himself, He says, Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab. Or praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who revealed upon His servant the book. In relation to Allah is the servant, to us. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. All of the titles of esteem and respect that you can think of. And when he goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his true, in his reality. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is there with his senses. Just a point of reflection here. It's mentioned about Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam that after he saw that manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the mountain, blink of an eye, flash, he fell unconscious. When he woke up, he now had super senses. His sight and his hearing took on a different dimension. It's mentioned he was in the middle of the night, on a dark mountain, he was able to see a small black ant. And he was able to hear its movements. From a distance, we're not talking with a magnifying glass up close. From a distance, he stood on the mountain, at a distance he sees an ant in the middle of the night on a black rock. He sees it and he hears, this is after when he wakes up. That's what happens to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Imagine what must have opened up for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That was for Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam a manifestation of a sifa. Here, the Prophet ﷺ is seeing Allah. Can we fathom His reality? Can we fathom His grandness, His knowledge, His vision, His senses? Without a shadow of a doubt, the Prophet ﷺ can see us right now. No doubt in that whatsoever. And so he is given salah, 50 salahs. He comes back, sees Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam says, I request you. He knows you and I. Never mind the Prophet knowing about you and I. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam knew about you and I. How? He says your ummah won't be able to manage this. How did he say that if he doesn't know us? He knew about our state. He says, go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Him for a reduction. And what this also shows us is that the Prophet ﷺ is invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he can go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by invitation, but he can also go without invitation as well. Allah doesn't limit the Prophet ﷺ. It doesn't say you can only come to me when I invite you. Now the door is open. The Prophet ﷺ goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, returns back to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, reducing the salah in increments of 5 until it's reduced to 5. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, even at 5 he says less. The Prophet ﷺ says, now I'm too shy. On this point, the scholars say that if you believe that you cannot benefit from the dead, then carry on praying 50. You have to pray 50. Because the person who had it reduced from 50 to 5, according to you, was dead. You carry on praying 50. We believe the dead still benefit. Supposed dead. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam still benefited us. We can pray 5. Alhamdulillah. If you don't believe the dead can benefit, you carry on praying 50. Now he says, look at the declaration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We remember the Isra wal-Miraj in our salah every day in the tahiyyat. It's so beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, if people say you can't remember the Isra wal-Miraj, if you can't remember the Isra wal-Miraj, then don't pray the tahiyyat. And if you don't pray the tahiyyat, your salah is invalid by all of the madhahib. Your salah is incomplete without mentioning the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And without sending salutations on the Prophet ﷺ. You can't escape. Look at the declaration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we'll end on this. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have reduced it for you from 50 to 5, but its reward will still be 50. Subhanallah. Look at the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who are we that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should reduce it from 50 to 5? His messenger never complained. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't complain. For us, he went back. Not for him. In fact, if you look at the life of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he did not like being out of a state of salah. He used to say to Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu, Arihna ya Bilal, and relieve me ya Sayyidina Bilal, please give the adhan, I can't take it anymore, I need to be in salah. I just cannot take it anymore. Arihni ya Bilal, please, give the adhan. It's been so long since we have just prayed. And we know the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to pray way more than the 5. But look at the generosity. Do we have any excuse not to pray? How embarrassed can a person be who doesn't pray? Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifts us the salah. Every other action from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sent from the heavens to the earth. Zakat, Sawm, Kalima, Hajj, all of it. Marriage. Salah is that one act where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to him and gives him the salah. Unbelievable. And the salah is the mi'raj of the believer. If you want to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the closest point you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when you humble yourself and place your head on the ground. It's the closest you can get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you submit and you declare your absolute brokenness, your absolute dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is when you are the closest and the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that by the remembrance of the Isra wal-Miraj and the narrations of the Isra wal-Miraj, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instills within us and our family and our communities the habit of salah. That does not go as salah that we miss, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. That if we have missed salahs, that we make up for those salahs, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He preserves the remembrance of the Isra wal-Miraj within us, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be raised with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Jannah, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. Jazakallah khair for the opportunity for coming here and speaking at such a wonderful event and gathering. Allah reward you.